I think a lot of selections in international rugby in particular, and I think South Africa have probably showed this the most, I think it's gone to the days of a fixed 10 at international level. I get the sense that it's really shaping sides for opposition and who's going to be the best person to create that. And to add someone of Richie's skill set to that ability to bring in is a no-brainer. And I think the other two players in Beauden and Damien will welcome the challenge. Like, all athletes welcome the challenge to prove that they are the one. But I still think it's not going to be like it was previous where Dan Carter is going to start every test. I just think the dynamics, the evolution and innovation needed in international rugby is changing so quickly, and they all have different strengths and different weaknesses, and I think that presents the opportunity to utilise all three.
So we've seen Rassie come out and basically say that between Pollard and Lebok and Feinberg and Gomazulu, that there isn't a top guy. There's not a top guy, like Jipper says. There's a horses for courses mentality. How difficult is that to work? Let's say you're a halfback and they've got different ways of going. Is it just time with each and every single one of them to the point over 4 years? Sorry to jump in before you actually, the one person who's played in there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I came through an era where the 10 was the 10. So it's hard for me to say that. But as I said when we were talking about Beauden and Damien, you can see that their style against an island, one suits it versus against South Africa. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to open up my rugby mind to Rassie's way of thinking, not just his way of thinking, but I think we've seen it with Ireland, we've seen it with England, we've seen it with France. Like, there isn't just a set 10 anymore. A lot of the Northern Hemisphere nations in particular are rotating their 10. And I think we'll see it with Joe Schmidt and the Wallabies when there's a full complement of 10s to pick from. It's sort of trending in the same direction. And I think Richie coming back presents a genuine opportunity to make us, like, really hard to preview. You know, like, it's who's coming out this week, and then you find out on a Thursday, and it's, which means you've got to cram everything into your week. Okay, if Damien plays, we've got to do this way. If Beauden plays, so it clutters the opposition's week because you actually don't know who you're coming up against, which is potentially a strength.
It's hard for a player because you're a competitor and you want to be able to be the guy that starts, and it's more so the reps and the feel, being able to go week to week, and you gain confidence of being able to do that every single week. But you look at the South Africans and the number 10s that you use as an example, they've got it right, because it doesn't matter who's starting at 10 or whatever's position it may be, they've been able to perform.
But is the game starting to be dictated by 9s? Are 9s now the 10s? And bear with me here, this has just come to me now. But, like, whenever you talk to someone, you go, okay, who sets you alight as a player? It's Dupont. We're now hearing Roygaard. We're hearing Williams. We're hearing Jamison Gibson Park. I don't know, like, because if you look at all the 9s, that's where the consistency is. And a lot more attacking play comes off 9s. In terms of showing face, working with the forwards, and then releasing to the 10. Merely the 10's still running when that gets released, but a lot of the in-game decision-making and the person who has the ball the most is the 9.
So the 10's become a strike player and the 9 is a management player.
Well, I don't know, but if you look at all the international teams around, like, the 9s are quite set. Maybe not South Africa, but they do seem to be more set at 9 because normally they've got more forwards on the bench anyway, so...
Yeah, actually, and I also think...
mate, I just got you a pay rise.
Thanks, mate. Well, here we go. But no, I think just coming back on Cam Roygaard, and I think with what his skill set is going to be, I think it's actually going to open up for our 10s in terms of going forward, going into the World Cup, because I think, look, you post so much questions at the breakdown in terms of the first 3 defenders. It might even be a little bit out. If we can get our pivots, or not our pivots, like our pods being able to run the right lines and a Roygaard is sniping in and around that, then I think it's going to open up for the likes of Richie.
Roygaard's the key in that.
I agree. Yeah, so, like, I think I wanted to be able to bring to that point because I think Cam Roygaard can actually unlock our attack a little bit, I think, even more. in terms of what's going to be able to be our face play shape. So a very good point, Jip, in terms of the 9s probably being maybe a little bit more consistent, whereas 10s maybe might be a little bit more fluctuated.
But the outlier is South Africa, where you've got Vandenberg, Williams and Reinach and Faf, all consistently inconsistent.
But I think they're probably the difference in terms of like the only nation, I believe, at the top that are actually mixing and chopping and changing when it comes to every position, not let alone 9. Like you could, like Grant Williams could go out and play a 10 out of 10, 2 test matches in a row, and then he's not playing. Like he's just coming off the bench, or they've got Reinach, or they might start someone else. So there's obviously a plan there,
But I think
and there's a blueprint of what they look like.
They're told.
Yeah.
They're told, like, right,
Well, I
this 3-test campaign, you are going to start both of them.
I think like
Or you're starting one, then I'm dropping you.
Talking to like Quaha and Malcolm during playing with them, is that they have a system that Rassie uses to be able to say like, hey, these are the effort areas that you're doing. They GPS or they look at it in a different way. So depending on who they're playing and what their skill set is and what they're doing really well, that's how they're picking their squad. Now I don't know if it's changed or they alter a little bit to be able to get a little bit of that, but then feel around who they're going to get. But there's obviously a system that they're using in South Africa as well.
It's clearly evident because no matter the amount of changes, they're still consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no clunkiness.
No, there's
That's
not.
the thing. It's because the changes are consistent, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like the consistency is the inconsistency, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers, 24-25, Pollard starts 6, bench 4. Feinberg and Ngoma starts 5, bench 2. Lebok starts 4, bench 3. So there's a constant rotation there between those guys. And then, like we said before, with the halfbacks, again, it's just a constant chop and change, but you probably need to do that for a consistent period of time to get your team where you need them to be, right?
Well, I look at it as an example. So, like, in terms of, like, I think of my time at the Crusaders. So it would be, starting 3, coming off the bench, off the bench 2, starting. So you just get a really good feel of how things go. Like, I think, sometimes when you're the start and you go, let's say, 10 in a row, and you come off the bench, it's like, oh, that's actually a bit different, and you're not experiencing, and maybe the execution of what you need to come off the bench is different from what you do when you start. But I think when you're chopping and changing, you have a good understanding of like coming off the bench, what it looks like. It might be it might be a dry game. The tempo might be coming up for a halfback. Some other day you come off the bench and it's raining. You've got to be able to have game management and be able to understand differently to be able to play as a 9. So I think that ability and the stats you talk about with not only the 10s, but the 9s or whoever it may be, they're getting a good understanding to come off the bench and then being able to start as well.
If we were to be rolling them through, you would imagine that year and a half that we've got with Richie back, they'd really have to get that into play. Like, they really need to start with Richie for a couple of games and then start rolling it to make it work.
Yeah, I think you've got to know your players.
Yeah.
And you've got to know their strengths and weaknesses really well to know when they're going to be able to best execute that. Look at Damien McKenzie's performance against Ireland. Yeah. That is a great example that he suits that defensive system. The unpredictable nature of a very rigid, structured system. He can manipulate that because he sees things others can't. So understanding what systems you're coming up, so knowing your opposition, but then knowing your players to best set them up. And I'm not just, the only example we have is the box. So I think Rassie knows his players so well and is so upfront around their strengths and weaknesses that the system is not a surprise to a player. You're not coming into a one-on-one and, going, am I getting dropped, am I not getting dropped? I think it's very clear and open so that it sets them up in that positive mindset. And that's what I'm saying is I think international rugby is coming to the point where you can do this more regularly and confidently. And people gain confidence through visuals. Yeah. And the visuals are the World Cup winners that have won the last 2. So then people trial it, it works, and then it becomes a norm.
So if we roll it back to the stats that we've got here, and you look at the way that they performed, Richie Mo'unga, his best percentages, and I know a whole team wins a game, not just a 10, but he wins 75% against Argentina and 83% against Australia, and everybody else is below 50. So he feels like a good fit there, obviously, if you can base it on a single person for a win. Yep. Whereas McKenzie, like you say, great against Ireland, great against England. Yeah. And then Barrett, by far the best against South Africa from a win percentage. So
And France, by the looks.
what is it that maybe Barrett brings against South Africa and France? You know, what is it in his game, do you think, that makes that work? And what is it about Richie's game that makes it work against Argentina and Australia?
Can I come back to you next week?
Yeah.
I really need to look at some numbers.
Yeah.
I don't want to just say hearsay comments because I'd like to back it up.
Yeah.
But I would like to look into it.
Yeah.
And work out when those games were and find the stats and see what it was.
Yeah.
You have some generic feelings, but I wouldn't be doing it justice. I'd be guessing at this stage.
Okay.
We don't like to guess, all right?
No,
we don't
no,
like
no,
to
no.
guess. We don't like to guess.
Stay tuned. Be back
I like
next
to be a
week.
facts-based show.
We'll be back next week with a little bit of analysis on that. Okay, rightio. So the other person we saw back this week was Leicester Nooku. And boy, did he look good against for Tasman on the weekend. He looked really, really good against the Turbos. Winger, centre. It's what Scott Robertson was asking for, more of them. Obviously, he's not available until November for the All Blacks. How does he affect the selection come November?
He may potentially put more pressure on wingers
Yeah,
Caleb.
because what he gives you, he's not a 12.
yeah,
So he gives you a 13 wing,
yeah,
like a Rico, and Tavatavanawa gives you a 12 wing.
yeah,
So I'm
And is it a Caleb?
you're
and a
looking for versatility, you wouldn't remove the versatility of Tavatavanawa
yeah,
if that's what you're looking for. You're gaining versatility in a centre wing. So I suppose, and the way squads have been, it looks like the wingers are getting squeezed the most and wanting to really bolster that competitive edge in that midfield. And the ability to have a 23 that covers and potentially opens up opportunities for your 6-2 because you've got more versatile backs and so forth. So logic would suggest it's going to squeeze wingers, which, you know, are probably Leroy, Caleb.
Sevu.
I don't think, because Sevu's an out-and-out right winger. I'm not... You'd
Well, yeah,
be getting
yeah.
in discussions of pushing Will Jordan back to right winger.
Narawa.
Yeah, no. So those, I think those out-and-out winger positions.
So if you're looking around like a Leroy Carter, for example, who plays a winger 9 at a pinch one game for NPC, Leicester's been able to do that for a couple of years with Toulon. So I think the utility factor, which Razor's touched on a lot, not only in your loose forwards or whoever it may be, like the utility factor, if you want to get to that, you know, the 34, 35 part squad members, that those late to last picks, you've got to have a utility. So I think, you know, Leicester definitely does fit that.
I think Leroy Carter can grow in that though. Like speed defensively, 13 you need. His attacking game and ability to distribute from sevens is really first class.
Halfback as well. You know, if you're a Leroy Carter, like there's nobody else in the country that has his skill set. If you're talking about World Cups in 33 and being able to have people that can cover multiple positions, 6-2 splits, we wouldn't never go 7-1, but yeah, Leroy Carter with what he has and being able to do that, he's warranted a selection. Possibly, this is a long way to go, but yeah, it's a massive skill set that he has in Leicester as well. You know, like you said, it seems like if you are an out-and-out winger, just a winger, you're almost going to, you might be squeezed out. So, having that utility factor, I think, is going to be massive for the next couple of years moving forward.